Well, Gordon, you did it again. You beautiful, accented bastard. Listening to you right now on the Higherside Chats. Free-range prison. It's a pretty good way to put it. I don't know. I fell in line. Like I said in my last video, I got the shot. Guess I'm going to be part of your free-range prison. I like the way you said it. Makes a lot of sense to me. Especially that they started with the federal government and the military to see how many of these guys would fall in line. However, people forget that, at least in the US military, when you join, you get injected with so much shit. So much. And that's let alone, I'm sure, if you go overseas, if you leave the country, if you come back into the country, I'm sure you get injected with even more. And most guys, at least when I was in, I didn't hear a single one say, wait a minute, stop, what are you about to stick in my arm? None of them. Not one. The fact that a lot of these guys are now saying they refuse to get the COVID shot is a silly concept on both of those fronts. They've already proven they're willing to get all kinds of shots with no questions. This is the only shot I've ever heard military guys really complain about simply because of how much attention it's getting. I mean, realistically, they probably could have stuck these guys in the arm with the shot and they wouldn't even have known, because, yeah, they might present you with some paperwork and say, here's what we're about to fill you up with. But as anybody knows, with some sort of like contract looking thing, it's like the Apple agreement. It's just a ton of lawyer speak jargon stuff, and unless you scrutinize it carefully, you won't know what they're about to do to you. So it's very possible that a lot of these guys could have been given the vaccine for COVID and not even known about it. So to say that the mandating it for the military and the federal government is a way of seeing what their compliance levels are. Let's think about this real quick. Our military in the US, our military and our police force, a lot of them will comply, no questions asked, for a lot worse shit than getting a shot. Let's be real here. I don't think that getting them the vaccine is a true test of their compliance level. No disrespect, well, as little disrespect as I can mean in that, because I appreciate our military, I appreciate our police force, but that's not to say that there's not some seriously muddled up individuals in those institutions, okay? Let's remember that. I don't think that the shot would be a good measurement of their compliance levels. Let's not forget, wasn't it just a couple years back they put out a survey into the armed forces to see who would turn on US citizens should the situation arise? Now that's a scary thing to hear going into our military ranks. Why would they ask that question? That is something that truly scares me. Not whether or not a guy gets his COVID shot. That doesn't scare me. If a guy says he'll get it, if a guy says he won't get it, that doesn't really tell me a lot about his character as a person. Now, if he says, yes, I would be willing to turn on US citizens in the right under the right circumstances, that terrifies me about their character. Let's be honest here. I would like to think that if the order was given on something that scary, turn your rifles on these citizens and fire upon them, that most men and women in our armed forces wouldn't comply with that. However, I think history has already proven that a lot of them would. maybe not a lot, that maybe that's over exaggerating, but there are a number of them who would. And unfortunately, I think that's even more so among our police forces. Very unfortunately. I'm not one of those people who thinks every police officer is a horrible person. However, I feel like you do have to have a slight, how do I want to word this? Like a bit of a masochistic side to do that job. And in the sense that, you know, it puts you in a position of power over a lot of people very easily, right? Just by putting the uniform on, having the weapons, things like that. I mean, literally when they teach you like the levels of aggression or whatever it's called, I can't remember it. Officer presence is the number one thing. And a lot of people will comply simply by having someone in uniform there. So someone who wants to be a cop now understands that. Oh, just by wearing the uniform, people will listen to me. Well, not only that, now I have a weapon. Now if anybody messes with me anymore, you know, I have the full authority to, whatever it may be, take my aggression out on them, essentially. I mean, we all see this in the media every day. That's why cops are being berated left and right, because a lot of them do use far too much aggression, and who knows where that stems from. Because a normal person, I mean, I get it, they probably fear for their lives every time they interact with people. But then again, if that's the case, maybe just don't do that job. If you can't deal with a situation where you think your life is in danger other than by, I don't know, shooting and killing other people or beating the shit mercilessly out of people, maybe not the right job for you. I mean, let's be honest. It's not a job I would do. They tried to get me to kind of do stuff like that in the Coast Guard, do law enforcement stuff, and I absolutely refused because, one, I didn't want to put my life in those kind of situations, and two, I didn't want to have to be faced with those choices of what do I do if someone threatens me while I'm in a position, you know, of enforcement. I think that like I said, let me circle back. The compliance issue being, you know, attached to the vaccine, I think is a silly thing. I mean, I love everything Gordon White says. I think he's an incredibly smart person, and I think I'm very jealous of the life that he leads. I think he leads an awesome life. I would like to try and align more with the way he does things. However, I think that statement is very off base, basically. Simply coming from somebody who was in, you know, they literally put you in lines and they just give you shots, and in both arms, multiple times, straight down a line. You know, you walk between two lines of other people with shots, and they're just shot after shot, back of the arm, front of the arm. It's insane. And I didn't see a single person say, whoa, wait a second, what are you about to stick in my arm? And if you do, great, you know, that's good. You should ask. I didn't, because I was scared shitless. I mean, they put you in an environment where it's very hard to ask questions because of how fast-paced it is, and people are yelling at you, and it's stressful. So the last thing you want to do is step out of line and ask questions to put the spotlight on you. That being said, if you did step out of line and ask questions, most likely they would just say, there's the door, because this person is not compliant enough. They already have your compliance from the very beginning, most likely. That's one thing boot camp is for, is to figure out who is compliant enough to march in lines, you know, sound off when your name is said, not speak out of turn. They already got that compliance out of most of these guys. Let's be real. They don't need to say, I'm going to give you a COVID shot for that compliance. You know, wow, That was 10 minutes, and I did not think it was going to be that long. I didn't think I had nearly that much to say about it. So there's my 2 cents on the matter. You know, again, Gordon White, I love you, so don't take this against you, man. You, like I said, I like everything you do. I like what you stand for. I just think this one's pretty off base. But I'm going to keep listening to the episode. Maybe I'll have to, you know, make another video on that, on this episode, because the conversation is good, but I just, remember, there's 2 sides to everything. So while I agree with Gordon's side, I think there's also another side to it that needs to be addressed as well. So thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.